You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
And now, a word from our sponsor, CloudRange. At CloudRange, they believe cybersecurity readiness starts with people, not just technology. That's why their proactive simulation-based training helps security teams build confidence and skill from day one. By turning potential into performance, they empower SOC and incident response teams to respond quickly, smartly, and in sync with evolving threats. Learn how CloudRange is helping organizations stay ahead of cyber risks at www.cloudrange.com. Ingram Micro suffers a ransomware attack by the SafePay gang. Spanish police dismantle a large-scale investment fraud ring. The Satan Lock ransomware group says it's shutting down. Brazilian police arrest a man accused of stealing over $100 million from the country's banking system. Qantas confirms contact from a potential cyber criminal following its recent customer data breach. The XWorm rat evolves to better evade detection. Cyber criminals ramp up fraudulent domains ahead of Amazon Prime Day. Apple sues a former engineer allegedly stealing confidential data. Our guest is Rob Allen, Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker, discussing why default deny could be the antidote to security fatigue. And AI image editing blurs the evidence. It's Monday, July 7th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great to have you with us. Ingram Micro, a major global IT distributor, suffered a ransomware attack by the SafePay gang last Thursday, leading to an ongoing outage of its website and ordering systems. Employees discovered ransom notes on their devices, although it's unclear if files were encrypted. Sources say attackers likely breached the company via its Global Protect VPN platform. Impacted services include its AI-powered Xvantage distribution platform and Impulse license provisioning, while Microsoft 365, Teams, and SharePoint remain operational. Initially, Ingram Micro did not disclose the attack, citing only IT issues. SafePay, active since November 2024 with over 220 victims, uses VPN breaches and password spraying to infiltrate targets. On Sunday, Ingram Micro confirmed the ransomware incident, stating it's working with cybersecurity experts to investigate and restore systems. Spanish police have dismantled a large-scale investment fraud ring that caused over $11.8 million in damages. In coordinated raids across Barcelona, Madrid, Mallorca, and Alicante, 21 suspects were arrested, and officers seized 7 luxury cars and more than $1.5 million in cash and crypto. The group began operations in 2022, targeting victims nationwide with fake investments in crypto, tech stocks, and gold via manipulated websites and call centers posing as professional advisors. Victims saw fake profits and could make small withdrawals initially before losing larger sums to blocked withdrawals and fake processing fees. The call centers had panic buttons to erase data during raids. This operation follows recent major fraud takedowns in Spain, including a $540 million crypto scam dismantled last week. The Satan Lock ransomware group announced it's shutting down and plans to leak all stolen victim data today. The group, active since April 2025, posted the news on its Telegram channel and dark website, which now displays a shutdown notice. Satan Lock had listed 67 victims, though over 65% were already on other ransomware leak sites, suggesting shared infrastructure. Linked to groups like Babak Bjorka and GD Lockersec, SatanLock's sudden closure remains unexplained. Brazilian police arrested Yao Roca, an IT employee at software company CNM, for his role in a cyber attack that stole over $100 million from the country's banking system. Hackers breached CNM, which connects banks to Brazil's instant payment platform Pix, used by over 76% of the population. Roque admitted selling his credentials to hackers who recruited him earlier this year. The attack targeted financial institutions, not individual clients, and losses from just one bank reached $100 million. Police believe at least 4 others were involved. The fraud occurred overnight via fake Pix transactions. Brazil's central bank suspended parts of CNM's operations. CNM stated the breach was due to social engineering, not system flaws. Qantas has confirmed contact from a potential cyber criminal following its recent customer data breach. The airline is verifying the individual's authenticity and has involved the Australian Federal Police but declined to share further details. The breach, contained on June 30th, compromised personal data, including names, emails, phone numbers, dates of birth, and frequent flyer numbers of potentially up to 6 million customers. No credit card, financial, or passport data was affected. Attackers targeted a third-party customer service platform via a call center. Qantas has not detected further threat activity and says its systems remain secure. Customers were notified by email and warned to watch for phishing attempts. As Qantas says, they'll never request passwords or sensitive login details. Arbor Associates, which processes data for healthcare providers, reported a breach compromising patient data. Detected on April 17th, the breach occurred between April 15th and 17th. Exposed information includes names, contact details, birth dates, biological sex, service dates, CPT and diagnosis codes, medical record numbers, and insurance provider names. The number of affected individuals and attack details remain undisclosed. Arbor has set up a helpline and urges patients to review statements for errors and monitor credit reports for suspicious activity. The XWorm remote access Trojan has evolved with advanced stagers and loaders to evade detection. Widely used for key logging, remote desktop access, data theft, and command execution, XWorm now targets sectors like software supply chains and gaming. Recent campaigns paired XWorm with Async Rat for initial access, later deploying ransomware crafted from the leaked Lockbit Black Builder. XWorm's infection chain is highly dynamic, using multiple file types and scripting languages delivered via phishing emails mimicking invoices and shipping notices. It employs base64 encoding, AES encryption, and tampers with Windows security features like AMSI and ETW to avoid detection. XWorm also spreads via removable media, uses persistence mechanisms, and disables Microsoft Defender, making it a persistent threat for security teams worldwide. Ahead of Amazon Prime Day this week, cybercriminals are ramping up phishing attacks targeting shoppers. Researchers at Checkpoint Security say over 1,000 Amazon-like domains were registered in June alone, with 87% flagged as malicious. Many use Amazon Prime in their names to trick users into entering login credentials on fake sites. Common tactics include spoofed websites mimicking Amazon's checkout and phishing emails claiming refund errors to lure clicks. With these scams rising before Prime Day, extra caution can prevent identity theft, unauthorized purchases, and stolen gift card balances. Apple has filed a lawsuit against former employee Dee Lu for allegedly stealing confidential data related to its Vision Pro headset and sharing it with Snap, his current employer. Lu, who worked at Apple for 7 years as a senior product design engineer, reportedly transferred proprietary Vision Pro design, hardware testing, and unreleased capability files to his personal cloud storage before resigning. Apple claims Liu misled them about his departure, citing family reasons for leaving instead of joining Snap to avoid off-boarding protocols that would cut his access. Forensic analysis revealed he deleted evidence from his MacBook to hide the transfers. Apple is seeking the immediate return of its trade secrets, financial damages, and access to Liu's devices and cloud accounts. Snap denied any involvement in Liu's actions. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Rob Allen from ThreatLocker. We're discussing why default deny could be an antidote to security fatigue, and AI image editing blurs the evidence. Stay with us. Compliance regulations, third-party risk, and customer security demands are all growing and changing fast. Is your manual GRC program actually slowing you down? If you're thinking there has to be something more efficient than spreadsheets, screenshots, and all those manual processes, you're right. GRC can be so much easier, and it can strengthen your security posture while actually driving revenue for your business. You know, one of the things I really like about Vanta is how it takes the heavy lifting out of your GRC program. Their trust management platform automates those key areas: compliance, internal and third-party risk, and even customer trust, so you're not buried under spreadsheets and endless manual tasks. Vanta really streamlines the way you gather and manage information across your entire business. And this isn't just theoretical. A recent IDC analysis found that compliance teams using Vanta are 129% more productive. It's a pretty impressive number. So what does it mean for you? It means you get back more time and energy to focus on what actually matters, like strengthening your security posture and scaling your business. Vanta, GRC. Just imagine how much easier trust can be. Visit vanta.com/cyber to sign up today for a free demo. That's vanta.com/cyber. CISOs and CIOs know machine identities now outnumber humans by more than 80 to 1. And without securing them, trust, uptime, outages, and compliance are at risk. CyberArk is leading the way with the only unified platform purpose-built to secure every machine identity, certificates, secrets, and workloads across all environments, all clouds, and all AI agents. Designed for scale, automation, and quantum readiness, CyberArk helps modern enterprises secure their machine future. Visit cyberark.com/machines to see how. Rob Allen is Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker, and on today's sponsored Industry Voices segment, we discuss why default deny could be the antidote to security fatigue. Rob, let's start with the big picture here. Can you describe to us what we mean when we say security fatigue and how it became such a widespread issue in cybersecurity these days?
Well, security fatigue is one way of describing it. I think alert fatigue is probably more appropriate. I think the old analogy of the boy who cried wolf is very much relevant in this scenario, which is if you have something that's popping off alerts left, right, and center saying there's something happening here and there's something happening there and there's something happening over there, and you check them all out and there's nothing happening, you're going to believe it less and less over time. And unfortunately, when something is actually happening, you're probably going to be either too busy chasing other things or, as I said, just fatigued and thinking it's not actually going to be what I think it is. I mean, we have I had a really interesting example of this. when I was dealing with a prospect who was using, let me be diplomatic and say, one of the major EDR tools that are out there. And I asked him how it was. How was his experience been with it? Is it good? Is it bad? Was it easy to manage, etc. And he said, look, it's really good, but the false positives break my heart. I spend all day, every day chasing false positives. But the interesting thing was we have a PowerShell script that we use for demonstrations, which is basically just data exfiltration via PowerShell. So it goes through the user's documents folder and uploads everything it finds to our blob. And when I showed that to him, I said, look, do you mind if I try that on my machine? I said, no, absolutely not. So we tried it in his machine, exfiltrated the data, no problem, and not a peep out of the tool that he was using. So from alerts for everything that was nothing to not alerting on something actually bad happening. I thought that was very instructive.
Yeah, I can't help thinking that has to take a toll on people and affect their decision making.
Oh, undoubtedly. As I said, it's basically soul destroying to keep on chasing things that aren't happening, or things that aren't serious, or things that you don't need to worry about. The problem is, when there is something you do need to worry about, it is eminently possible it will fall through the cracks.
Well, I know you and your colleagues promote this notion of default deny. Can you unpack that for us? What does it mean in practical terms?
In practical terms, I mean, it's incredibly simple. If you think about pretty much all cybersecurity, the approach is fundamentally to allow everything except what we know to be bad. And by we, I mean the cybersecurity tool that's in place. So allow everything to run unless it's known malware, allow everything to happen unless it's known to be malicious. The problem with that fundamentally is that nobody knows everything that's bad. Nobody knows every piece of malware. Nobody knows every technique, every tactic, everything that's being used. So what we do and what we espouse is to effectively turn that allow everything except what's known to be bad in its head and say, deny everything unless it's explicitly allowed. So it's pretty much a full 180 from that traditional approach. And it's a really, really effective way of approaching cybersecurity. And it's got so many other knock-on benefits, in terms of, like, we're working on a little project at the moment, our special projects team. And it's a variation on that data exfiltration that I mentioned earlier. So we became aware that one of the EDR vendors now detects data exfiltration via PowerShell as malicious. So we did a little tweak to our previous script. So instead of just using PowerShell to upload a load of files, what we're doing now is we download 7-zip, use 7-zip to encrypt the files, delete the files, and then upload them to our location. Now that's fundamentally ransomware. That's a ransomware attack in one PowerShell script for all intents and purposes. Now the problem with it is, in most environments, PowerShell is pretty much allowed to do whatever the hell it wants. So it can download 7-zip, it can run it, it can copy data. The really interesting thing about this instance is, because it's only uploading one file, that EDR tool that you used to work in terms of detecting data exfiltration now does not. Because it obviously has some sort of a limit built into it, where it says if it's less than, X number of files, it's not data exfiltration. If it's more than X number of files, then it is. But it comes back to the idea of making decisions. So that tool is making a decision as to whether or not that behavior is malicious. And obviously, in the case of multiple files being exfiltrated, it's deciding that this is malicious. If it's only one file that's being exfiltrated, it's deciding it's not. And it shows the weakness of decisions, whether it be, a human being that's making decisions, or whether it be AI that's making decisions, or whether it be, whatever the case may be. Decisions are dangerous because it only takes one wrong decision for it to be effectively game over.
Help me understand how default deny changes the way that security teams handle unknown or unexpected activity.
So the likelihood is, in most cases, there won't be as much unknown or unexpected activity because, again, fundamentally, everything that shouldn't be allowed or everything that isn't required is going to be blocked. Now, there's a couple of sides to it. There's the what can run and what can't run side. So that's very simple. I mean, blocking everything that isn't explicitly allowed from running is going to solve the problem of unknown malware, of 0 days, things that have never been seen before. I mean, fundamentally, we don't need to decide. If you're blocking everything by default, you don't need to decide that something could be bad or is bad. You just block everything and work backwards from there.
What about for the users? I could imagine in a worst case scenario, I'm picturing users frustrated that they can't do anything. Everything's being blocked. So how do you balance that out?
So there's a really important caveat to deny by default, or there's a really important addition to deny by default, which is permit by exception. So deny by default is what's going to keep you safe. Permit by exception is what's going to allow you to continue to do business. And in reality, the vast majority of users do the same things in the same way with the same software every single day. Most use Office, most use a couple of browsers. They might use a, line of business application or two, maybe a Teams or a Zoom or whatever the case may be. And the reality is, we're not going to get in their way if they're doing those things, because fundamentally what we're doing and what we espouse is to put guardrails around that and say, look, if you operate within these guardrails, which 99% of users are going to do on any given day, we're not going to get in your way. We're going to allow you to do the things you need to do with the software you need to run. But if you step outside or try to step outside those boundaries and try and run a remote access tool or, the coupon clipper from China, absolutely, we're going to step in and block that. But again, it's not stopping users from doing their jobs. You have to allow users to do their jobs. The point is, but no more. And that's what, as I said, deny by default, permit by exception allows.
So how do default deny policies help reduce the alert fatigue?
So again, the fact of the matter is, if something can't run, it can't do anything bad. And it's not only alert fatigue that it reduces. And this is a really important consideration. So shadow IT is a huge problem. And it's one that I'm acutely aware of because I spent the best part of 20 years of my life working for an IT company. And I am very familiar with the frustrations of, I would give somebody a computer today and it will be all singing, all dancing, do everything they need, super fast, powerful. They think this is fantastic. All my problems are solved. And then I'd get a call in 6 months from the same person going, hey, my computer's running slowly. Can you look at it? And I'd log in and I'd find that they'd somehow installed 15 Chrome extensions and 5 different toolbars and somehow managed to install 3 different antiviruses. And then we're wondering why their computer was running slowly. So if you take users' ability to install all of those stupid Chrome extensions and toolbars and antiviruses and random other software away, it's going to make the administrator's life so much easier. But I suppose to directly answer your question, first of all, we've got a detection tool ourselves, which is ThreatLocker Detect, but we would very often see customers of ours running ThreatLocker alongside something like an EDR, for example. And the overwhelming response from people who did that was that very quickly, when they have ThreatLocker running and secured, their EDR suddenly has very little to do because nothing is being allowed to run that shouldn't be allowed to run. Nothing's being allowed to happen that shouldn't be allowed to happen. So very quickly, the EDR is kind of sitting there going, it's very quiet around here today. And that, to be perfectly honest, is one of the reasons why we created our own EDR, as I said, ThreatLocker Detect, because most customers were saying, well, why am I paying X number of dollars a month for this tool when realistically it's got nothing to do because ThreatLocker is blocking all of these attacks at source?
Your description makes me think that not all user friction is bad. If you can make your user think twice before installing that sketchy browser plugin, that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely not. And it's one of the things we've actually tried to do. There's a couple of things. So we've introduced we've an entire department who are basically product research. So their jobs fundamentally is to, and I know it's a very thankless one, is to research every piece of software that's out there. So whether it be, as I said, Cooper being made in China or 7-Zip being Russian, their function is to find out as much as possible about these various pieces of software. And one of the things that happen when something gets blocked with ThreatLocker is they have the option to request approval because, again, from time to time, people will need to run software they've never run before. But when we pop up the approval request, we tell them a little bit about the software. So we say, look, this is a remote access tool. It's made in the following countries. So we're giving the user information to help them decide whether or not they actually want to run it, if that makes sense. So when I try and run 7-Zip, if it pops up and says 7-Zip is, it's compression software, it's made in Russia, it can be used to encrypt data. Do you want to request this? The reality is I'm probably going to go, no, maybe I shouldn't actually request that. So yeah, you will often find that users, first of all, they'll know that they can't run random crap pretty quickly.
Right.
And they will probably not try to as often. But even when they do, as I said, if you can educate them and if you can inform them as to the dangers of a particular piece of software, maybe they'll self-restrict or choose themselves not to actually try and run the thing.
Yeah. Now, even when you have a robust default deny policy in place, detection still plays a part, right?
Absolutely. We see detection as an important layer of a well-balanced security stack. The point is, though, it shouldn't be the only layer. And that is unfortunately where a lot of organizations find themselves, is that they may have multiple detection tools in place. They might have a threat hunter, they might have an antivirus, they might have an EDR. But the problem with those layers is they're very similar. They're effectively looking for the same known threats, the same known bad things, and very often falling over each other when they do actually find one. But as I mentioned earlier, a well-balanced security stack should combine proactive protection, which is the controls we spoke about earlier, and also reactive detection. The idea being that, and your ideal scenario is that you're not told about a cyber attack when it is in progress and you try to respond to it. Ideally, you want to know about a potential cyber attack that is trying to get underway and is failing to do so because of the controls I mentioned earlier.
Well, for organizations who are interested in this, what's a good place for them to begin?
Our website would be a great place to start. So threatlocker.com. Look, we see, I suppose, education as a very large part of what we do. As an example, we're currently about halfway through a webinar series we're doing, which is 100 days to secure your environment. So we're doing weekly webinars. I'm pretty sure they're on YouTube, but you certainly find them on our website. But it's not ThreatLocker specific. It's not only things that you can do using ThreatLocker. It's good best practice. Here's how you can make your environment unfriendly and difficult for an attacker to operate in. So yeah, as I said, education is a very large part of what we do, sort of explaining to people that there is a different way to what you have been doing up to now. It's a sad reality that very often when organizations do turn to solutions like ours, it's because they have had an event or a breach or have been hit in some way, shape or form. It's something that's frustrating from my perspective, because I'd be much happier if every customer came to us before they got hit rather than after they got hit. But as I said, it does sometimes take an event or something serious for people to realize that there are other ways to approach the problem that they've been trying to solve with these detection tools for so many years. But as I said, website's a great place to start. YouTube, we're on all the socials, but the YouTube stuff, the webinars we do, they're always educational and sometimes entertaining as well. So that's a really good place to start.
That's Rob Allen, Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker. And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker, the powerful zero-trust enterprise solution that stops ransomware in its tracks. Allow Listing is a deny-by-default software that makes application control simple and fast. Ring fencing is an application containment strategy, ensuring apps can only access the files, registry keys, network resources, and other applications they truly need to function. Shut out cybercriminals with world-class endpoint protection from ThreatLocker.
Introducing the new Volvo XC90 with 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
And finally, in Maine, the Westbrook Police Department tried to jazz up its drug bust photo by adding its badge using ChatGPT. Unfortunately, the officers didn't realize AI image editing works like an over-enthusiastic intern. It changed the entire photo. Facebook followers quickly noticed the garbled text and eerie gloss, prompting the department to delete the image and issue an apology. Their statement blamed a Photoshop app, but local station WGME revealed it was actually ChatGPT's image generator, which treated the uploaded photo as a prompt to create a brand new masterpiece. The AI even removed some drugs from the evidence photo. Locals wondered how no one spotted the glaring differences. So, lesson learned, next time, just set a badge on the table. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of this summer. There is a link in the show notes. Please do check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilby is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.